This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
The People's Republic of China 70th anniversary. What lessons can Africa draw from China's transformation? We have comprehensive coverage on this. Shabaab claims responsibility for attacks on US base and EU convoy in Somalia. And Cameroon launches national dialogue to end conflict in Anglophone regions. Hello and welcome to Africa Live on CGTN with me, Beatrice Marshall in Nairobi. We'll bring you the details on those stories in just a moment, but first, Uche Okoronko with the day's business headlines. Uche.
Thanks, Beatrice. And here's a look at what's coming up on Africa Live Biz. Total closes acquisition of Anadarko's stake at $3.9 billion. And US fashion house Forever 21 files for bankruptcy. Of course, all that coming up within the program. For now, back to you, Beatrice.
Uche, thank you. And let's begin in China, where the National Day celebrations are set to begin in a matter of hours. Happy National Day to our Chinese viewers in China and to those in the diaspora, especially in Africa. Chinese President Xi Jinping has stressed unity ahead of the National Day celebrations. A grand military parade will take place this morning to celebrate the 70th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China.
In the Great Hall of the People in central Beijing, state leaders, including President Xi Jinping, joined a packed room in celebration. The reception on Monday evening started with participants standing to attention as the national anthem played. In his address, President Xi emphasized unity among Chinese people at home and abroad, as well as unity among parties and ethnic groups, in the spirit of patriotism.
The Chinese people are a great people, the Chinese nation is a great nation, and the Chinese civilization is a great civilization. History can illuminate the future, and our path forward is endless. We believe the Chinese people and the Chinese nation, who have 5,000 years of history and have made great achievements in the 70 years of New China, can write fresh and more beautiful chapters in their quest to reach the two-century goals and realize the Chinese dream of the nation's great rejuvenation.
The two centenary goals, set out in 2012, aim to create a moderately prosperous society and double China's 2010 GDP and per capita income for both urban and rural residents by 2021, and make China a modern socialist country that is prosperous, strong, democratic, culturally advanced, and harmonious, and reach the level of moderately developed countries by 2049. On Sunday, President Xi attended an art performance in Beijing. He and other leaders joined over 4,000 people to watch the performance Stride Forward the Nation at the Great Hall of the People. The performance looks back at the history of China and the progress China has achieved during the last 70 years.
Meanwhile, massive and lively celebrations are also taking place across China as citizens mark 70 years since the founding of the People's Republic. From traditional dances to tasty delicacies, people are in for a treat.
A thunderous performance takes over the streets of Tongliang. The ancient town in southwest China is home to this unique art form called the Water and Cloud Dragon Dance. Legend has it that the more water one can spray on the dragon's body, the more good luck one will get. In the town's old fortress, officials serve noodles to staff in appreciation of their hard work.
Our country is becoming more prosperous, and along with that, our lives are getting better. I wish everyone can have a happy life.
The city of Xi'an, home to the renowned Terracotta Army, is also celebrating with noodles. This dish, served during birthdays, is a symbol of long life. Thick or thin, hot or cold, drenched in soup or oil, Locals take great pride in the ways they serve and eat noodles.
It's so lively here. I've never had as many different types of noodles where I'm from. I ate a lot. It's so much fun.
In the West, residents of Lhasa are marking National Day with traditional operas. Audiences in the capital of the Tibet Autonomous Region are wowed by a number of popular performances. Lhasa is boosting efforts to promote its culture. Locally produced paper and incense, made with unique Tibetan techniques, are especially popular among tourists.
The vibe of the National Day celebrations is so strong here. Everyone is very welcoming. I feel overwhelmed and deeply touched.
National Day celebrations in Lhasa will run through Friday.
Today marks 70 years since the founding of the People's Republic of China. A grand military parade, the largest in the nation's history, will take place at 10 a.m. Beijing time to commemorate the milestone. For the first time, China's peacekeeping force will take part. There will also be a grand civilian parade. Our live coverage, though, will begin at 8 a.m. Beijing time and will take you through all the preparations and celebrations. Stay tuned. In Kenya, China's global tech giant Huawei is employing technology to solve everyday challenges. The firm's local staff are in the driving seat of this new intelligence sector. CGTN's Robert Nagila has that report.
Steve Kamuya, a director at Huawei's Nairobi office, has been with the company since 2005 and is the company's longest-serving employee. He joined the company as a junior account manager and says he was attracted by the tech firm's work ethic.
One thing I liked about Huawei was the culture of work. They allowed the employees to grow by themselves.
And grow he did, taking advantage of the numerous training opportunities provided by the company, winning several awards along the way. The company's work ethic is based on hard work, a term Steve embraced and slowly rose through the ranks. In 2016, he was appointed director.
More responsibility, more work, more empowerment, and of course the benefits.
Huawei first set up in Kenya 20 years ago. The company has a deliberate localization policy that has seen them employ hundreds of locals. Including subcontractors, the man in charge of the Nairobi office says they have a staff complement of about 2,500 employees working in and around the region.
They work on some regional projects, so many of our staff are working in Uganda, Tanzania, other parts of Africa. So they are not just working only on Kenya projects, they really are at a regional or global level with some of the projects they're working on.
Local staff are involved in installation of equipment, support and tech solutions in development areas such as healthcare, education and security, among others.
But the local staff really are good, and we're really trying to focus now more on building the capacity of the universities to help increase their skill set so they can then improve those for students.
The company takes graduates fresh out of college for internships, and for many of them, employment is automatic. The idea is that many of them will follow the same path to success as Steve in their various areas of specialization. Robert Nagila, CGTN, Nairobi, Kenya.
Well, let's head to Somalia, where the Al-Shabaab group is now claiming responsibility for Monday's two separate attacks, which targeted a U.S. military base and a convoy of Italian advisors. In the first attack, militants stormed an American base in Bale Dogle, which is situated about 110 kilometers northwest of the capital, Mogadishu. After breaching the base, a heavy gunfight followed between the jihadists and American soldiers. So far, no casualties have been confirmed. Bale Dogle base has been a key launching site for U.S. drone operations against Al-Shabaab bases. The U.S. Africa Command, or AFRICOM, said in a statement that it is monitoring the situation in Somalia. Meanwhile, the European Union training mission in Somalia also confirmed that a vehicle loaded with explosives rammed into one of their vehicles in Mogadishu. There were no casualties in the second attack, although two vehicles belonging to the mission were extensively damaged. The EU training mission offers training to Somalia's national army. Well, let's get you more on that situation in Somalia. CGTN's Abdulaziz Bello is standing by for us. Abdulaziz, any word yet on the status of the victims of these two attacks?
Well, Beatrice, according to the first attack, as you have mentioned, it targeted the Balidogle military base that is more than 100 kilometers north of the capital, Mogadishu. So, according to the state Somali national TV and radio Mogadishu, they interviewed one of the brigadier generals in Danab. Danab now is an elite US-trained special unit that is based in Balidogle, who confirmed to state media that there was no casualties on their end. And this statement was also echoed by the United States ambassador here to Somalia, Donald Yamamoto, as well as the US Africa Command that issued a statement a few minutes before we came to this live cross, commending the government forces for thwarting that attack by Al-Shabaab. So the government insists that the Al-Shabaab never breached the security parameters and they never launched that attack that they claim to have carried out in Balidogle. On the other end, the militant group is claiming credit for this attack, saying that it killed 100 special trained US Somali forces, as well as it destroyed a number of unmanned aerial vehicles, as well as military helicopters in that airfield.
Now, how far apart are the venues of these two attacks, and why do you think the Al-Shabaab targeted those venues?
Well, the first attack happened here in Mogadishu. That is the European Union training mission. A contingent of 3 vehicles of Italian military personnel who are advising and training Somali security forces came under attack on a strategic road here in the capital that is not far from a military base. Now, this is the second attack on the same contingent in less than a year. 2 vehicles were extensively damaged, as you have mentioned, as well as several civilians were injured in that blast. But there was no casualties, rather, on the Italian side. And the one thing that we can be able to learn from the 2 attacks here today, both in Balidogle and in Mogadishu, it seems that the militant group Al-Shabaab, other than attacking Somali government troops, it's also trying to weaken the resolve of improving security in Somalia, and it's targeting it's targeting rather those responsible of training these forces, the supporters, the United Nations, the European Union, and the Americans, who are very vital in strengthening the country's security sector. And the main reason as to why they're doing this is because in the past few months, these especially trained forces, especially from Balidogle, have been able to capture and hold towns in strategic areas in the lower Shabaab region that is considered the epicenter of the conflict here in Somalia. And the fact that the Al-Shabaab has been able to attack these bases and have been unable to dislodge these soldiers from there is one of the reasons as to why they're trying to attack this base, to prove that they're indeed a formidable group that can still attack even such a secure area like Balidogle.
Now, Abdulaziz, Al-Shabaab attacks have been frequent in Somalia in the past few months. What are analysts saying about this sudden resurgence?
Well, the attacks in recent months has become an increased threat here in Somalia. Government forces in Mogadishu, as well as authorities, are saying that they have increased surveillance and security, especially in the capital, Mogadishu, where Al-Shabaab carries out frequent deadly attacks. Now, the country is about to celebrate, to mark rather, the 2nd anniversary of the deadly bombing here in Mogadishu that happened on October 14, 2017. So security forces are not putting anything to chance at this stage, and they have boosted security. They have increased the number of surveillance points and checkpoints once coming to Mogadishu and leaving Mogadishu. So these attacks by Al-Shabaab are becoming rather frequent, and as I've mentioned in my previous interview, we have noted that Al-Shabaab is trying to attack special trained forces, especially the Danab unit. These Danab units, who are quite few in number, the government of Somalia says that they have been very critical in ensuring security of Lower Shabaab region that is on the border with Mogadishu. So Somali authorities say as long as this area is secure, then there will be no attacks in the capital city here of Mogadishu or its surrounding areas. So Al-Shabaab is trying to attack these forces so that the government can feel that it's losing the fight against Al-Shabaab and it's losing this battle. So analysts here are saying that the government needs to increase its momentum, and rather than wait for it to respond to attacks, it should carry out attacks, hold territory, and subdue Al-Shabaab and remove them from these regions.
Abdulaziz Bello for us there in Mogadishu. The people of France have said a final goodbye to former President Jacques Chirac. Current and former world leaders also attended a service in Paris, paying tribute to the longtime politician and world statesman. Chirac was then laid to rest, as Malcolm Brown reports from Paris.
On behalf of the nation, the serving French President Emmanuel Macron pays tribute to one of his predecessors on a national day of mourning. The casket bearing Jacques Chirac's body was taken from the Invalides Memorial Complex, where it had lain in state, to the Church of Saint-Sulpice. Crowds lined the streets, sometimes breaking into ripples of respectful applause as the hearse passed by. Chirac died last week at the age of 86, following decades in French public service, which included a long spell as mayor of Paris, 2 terms as prime minister, and then 12 years as president. Thousands of mourners waited their turn in intermittent rain over the weekend to say their goodbyes. They were joined in their tributes by world leaders and other dignitaries who attended Monday's funeral service. Among them, Russian President Vladimir Putin and former US President Bill Clinton. The official program unfolded inside the church. Hundreds gathered in nearby streets and, where they could, followed proceedings on televisions in local bars and restaurants, a sign of the reservoir of affection for the former president.
I believe he was a brave man, especially when he said no to the Iraq war. It had to be done, even though it didn't please the Americans and the British. But oh well.
To me, he is an example. He has embodied greatness, just like Charles de Gaulle did.
As a mayor of Paris, he was great. He changed the city, I think, for the better.
Jacques Chirac's body was then taken on a final journey to the famous Montparnasse cemetery for a private burial. The presence of world leaders and other international VIPs highlights the high profile that Jacques Chirac had on the world stage. It's a part of his legacy which remains a source of pride for many of the French people who gathered here today. Malcolm Brown, CGTN, Paris.
You're watching Africa Live, still ahead on the program. Cameroon launches national dialogue to end conflict in Anglophone regions. And the UN High Commission for Refugees billed as a contender for this year's Nobel Peace Prize.
It is China time. Against the odds, the People's Republic of China was founded 70 years ago. Since then, it has aspired for change, both at home and abroad. What is driving this endeavor, and how has it managed to evolve with the times? We will look back, and in a new era. The nation is forging new missions and visions. We will look ahead. Tune in to our exclusive coverage of the 70th anniversary of the People's Republic of China.
At the Great War of China.
你好。
Africa Live. Find your voice.
In Cameroon, a national reconciliation exercise has been launched. The national dialogue seeks to end a separatist conflict in the Anglophone provinces, which have been pushing for secession, citing marginalization. The talks opened at the Congressional Palace in the capital, Yaoundé, on Monday. However, key rebel leaders have already refused to participate. Nearly 3,000 people have been killed and thousands others displaced since fighting broke out between the Cameroonian army and insurgents in the English-speaking provinces. In India, heavy rains have killed at least 113 people in the Uttar Pradesh and Bihar states. Authorities say the floods have been ongoing for 3 days, causing damage to many hospital wards in the country. India's monsoon season begins in June. It usually starts to retreat by end of September, but heavy rains have continued across parts of the country this year, triggering floods. India's meteorological department says the intensity of rainfall over Bihar was very likely to reduce. Showers in Uttar Pradesh are also expected to abate this week. Weather department officials said that this month that monsoon rains were likely to be over and above average for the first time in 6 years.
20 people have been killed, 4 in Patna, 6 in Bhagalpur, 1 in Purni, 6 in Gaya, 1 in Jamui, 1 in Begasurai, 1 in Sitamari, and 3 were injured in Begasurai.
Last 24 hours.
According to statistics of the last 24 hours, 15 people have been killed. 6 were injured, 11 animals were killed, and reportedly 294 mud houses were damaged.
The Greek government has announced that it will keep moving migrants from overcrowded camps on its islands to the mainland. This comes after a woman died following clashes and a fire at a migrants' camp on the island of Lesbos. The violent clashes began at the Moria camp on Sunday after a fire broke out inside a shipping container where migrants are housed. At least 17 people were hurt. The UNHCR says about 12,000 migrants and refugees are holed up in Moria camp, 4 times its capacity. The Greek Prime Minister has held a cabinet meeting to discuss the issue. Last month, the government announced measures to speed up asylum applications and move migrants off the islands to the mainland as the country is witnessing a new surge in arrivals from Turkey.
We're really going through a national crisis. It's essential that all of us together show responsibility, as the Greeks can show in hard times, to handle this difficult situation.
The United Nations Refugee Agency has been nominated for this year's Nobel Peace Prize. The UNHCR has won the prestigious prize twice in 1954 and 1981. Let's take a closer look at their work across the globe.
59 million. That's the number of refugees, returnees, IDPs, and stateless people the UNHCR currently helps. According to UN estimates, 70.8 million people fled conflict and persecution in 2018. Amma is among the millions who arrive at UNHCR camps after escaping harrowing circumstances.
I can't ever go back there. I barely escaped with my life. I lost my firstborn son. Now I'm here and I can't leave.
With over 9,000 staff members, the body responds to crises around the globe. They've been present in Yemen, where years of conflict has left an estimated 80% of the population in need of aid. In Africa, the UNHCR's presence has been felt in multiple countries. They've helped to manage the movement of people fleeing DRC to Uganda. In Libya, they've provided assistance and protection to migrants, displaced persons, and asylum seekers. The body also looks to help provide assistance to the 1.3 million people in need of aid in Libya. The UNHCR is among the nominees for this year's Nobel Peace Prize. The winner will be announced on December 10th. Astatal, CGTN.
Well, let's head to Côte d'Ivoire, where the country has been hosting the 3rd West African Youth Forum. This year's theme centered on social cohesion and peace building in the ECOWAS region.
For 3 days, participants of the West African Youth Forum touched on a wide array of issues affecting the ECOWAS region. The young minds tackled topics from fake news to elections and the relationship between peace and climate change.
African youth must know that the issue of climate change is multidimensional. When speaking about the climate, we are speaking not only about the environment, but also about peace and security. The world needs to know that preserving the environment means preventing conflict.
Besides discussing topics, participants were also encouraged to promote the message of peace in their communities.
At the end of this forum, the ECOWAS youth of Côte d'Ivoire decided to launch awareness campaigns to prevent and avoid potential tension before, during and after the elections.
Over 120 participants from 9 ECOWAS countries took part in the forum. Chamgono, CGTN.
Well, let's now go to Uche Okoronkwo for the latest business news. Uche.
Thanks, Beatrice. And coming up on Africa Live Biz. Total closes acquisition of Anadarko's stake at $3.9 billion. And U.S. fashion house Forever 21 files for bankruptcy.
The newly upgraded CGTN website offers optimized coverage of China and international affairs, as well as distinct voices from around the globe. Be the first to know the biggest political news and discover the background to the major decisions. Decode China with a different perspective and get a better understanding of how China sees the world. Go beyond the news with sharp opinions on the events shaping today's world and reveal a China you have never seen before. Listen to entrepreneurs for in-depth analysis of the economy and touch the pulse of new technology via our hands-on videos. Travel back in time with CGTN to learn about China's past and immerse yourself in Chinese culture. To discover the stories behind Kung Fu. Get the latest news on Chinese lifestyle, including travel, sports, and nature. Regular productions including Ask China put high-ranking officials on the spot, while C-Lab presents new ways of storytelling via cutting-edge technologies, and Global Stringer delivers unique videos from China and beyond. Take a look at the world from a different angle. See the difference.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
Now, global oil marketer Total has completed the acquisition of Anadarko's 26.5% stake in Mozambique's liquefied natural gas project, worth about $3.9 billion. ENH Rovuma, SA Mitsui ENP Mozambique, ONGC Videsh are amongst the stakeholders of Anadarko. The project is expected to come into production by 2024. The Mozambique government is targeting about $880 million in capital gains tax from the takeover of Anadarko Petroleum by Occidental. Now, the deal is expected to raise much needed revenue for the Southern African nation. Mozambique has been hobbled by a debt scandal in recent years, which of course prompted donors to cut off its funding and deter investors. And Kenyans have been on a last-minute rush to exchange old 1,000 shilling notes for new generation notes. They had up to close of business today to surrender those notes. In the past 3 months, the Central Bank of Kenya has engaged in extensive public awareness campaigns, which are aimed at informing people about the pending demonetization. Additionally, the financial regulators' officials have reached out to prison officers and judicial officers to ensure old notes in prisons and court exhibits are converted into the new generation notes before the Monday deadline. Now, the central bank governor, Dr. Patrick Njoroge, has revealed that banks are strictly observing anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing rules to prevent illicit funds from entering the formal financial system. The central bank has mopped up an excess of $1 million in the past 2 weeks. And staying in Kenya, an update on the percentage of the 217 million outstanding 1,000 shilling notes returned will be provided by the central bank on the 2nd of October. Now, since the announcement of the demonetization process on the 1st of June, the Kenyan shilling has weakened by over 2.6% against the US dollar. The country's foreign exchange reserves have also been falling for 11 straight weeks now to stand at just under $9 billion in the week ending September 26th. But is there any correlation between the demonetization of that 1,000 shilling note and the weakness seen in the dollar shilling rate? Here's one perspective.
Not really that they've been fine with it. They don't have a mechanism of, they've already been strangling the rate and managing it. Their reserves have been dwindling very fast. I don't think they can borrow again in the euro market anytime soon because they've been shoring their reserves by borrowing in the euro market. So, as I earlier mentioned, that some of this money ended up in forex, demand for the dollar. I don't think they can allow that dollar to actually cross 104, 104.5. That would be catastrophic for the whole economy, as in literally we'll be in a situation where now things will go out of control. So if you notice all the times that it reaches close to 104, they will come in and try and mop out excess liquidity. And the question is, where is this excess liquidity coming from? One, it's money coming back into the system, but two, it's excess liquidity that has been created by the central bank and the treasury with the interest rate cap. And the interest rate cap, with hindsight, was never a tool for private sector to borrow cheaply. It was actually to create excess liquidity. Now these guys can come and say 15-year bond, 9%. There's no competition for that money, so all the bank's money will end up into treasury securities.
Well, let's shift focus now. Hundreds of thousands of owners of manipulated diesel cars are demanding compensation from German car maker Volkswagen. The trial began 4 years after the Dieselgate emissions cheating scandal broke in 2015. Consumer rights group VZBV, representing the car owners, says that Volkswagen deliberately harmed buyers by installing motor control software that allowed vehicles to pollute far more on the road than under lab conditions. Now, the trial is Germany's largest so far in the tentacular diesel scandal. Last week, VW chief executive Herbert Diess was charged with market manipulation over his role. In the mass lawsuit, the most important of around 50 questions for judges is whether Volkswagen caused harm by acting dishonestly.
We are confident about our chances of success in this trial. The arguments speak for themselves. Volkswagen lied about the big decisions that the leaders knew about from the beginning, which we can prove. And Volkswagen has not put forward anything substantial that can contradict that.
And meanwhile, American fashion retailer Forever 21 has filed for bankruptcy, becoming the latest brick-and-mortar chain to surrender to fierce e-commerce competition. Now, Forever 21 said that it's filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection to restructure its business, which includes exiting most of its locations in Asia and Europe. The retailer said that it will also close up to 178 stores in the U.S., but will continue in Mexico and Latin America. America. A court filing shows that Forever 21 has listed assets and liabilities in the range of about $1 billion to $10 billion US dollars. Analysts say the retailer's aggressive expansion in recent years has led to problems as it has grappled with online competition. Forever 21 was founded in 1984 and now has more than 800 locations across the globe. Well, still in North Africa, 36 countries and about 550 exhibitors in different specialities are taking part in the 14th edition of the Tunisia International Agriculture Show, which is themed Agriculture is the Solution. Now, Tunisia aims to transform agriculture into a sector that is not just a producer, but an exporter of smart services and solutions. CGTN's Adnan Shaushi with the story.
The President of the Union of Agriculture and Fisheries noted that a national strategy needs to be developed for the next 30 years to improve the performance of the Tunisian agriculture and increase its contribution to GDP and development in general, and ensure better living conditions for the people.
Intelligent and modern farming and agriculture is our main objective. This is how Tunisia can achieve the target of increased productivity and quality of its agricultural produce in the next 3 decades.
This tent of the Smart Village is perceived as a meeting space dedicated to young entrepreneurs and promoters of innovative projects. 20 startups have offered a series of smart solutions to develop the agricultural sector and solve some of the problems facing farmers.
We've made 2 types of drones. The first drone analyzes all quantitative data from the soil of any farm. It's also used in cartography and water resource detection. The second drone is used in oases for the insemination of palm trees in a rapid and efficient way.
The international event has attracted over 20,000 visitors. More than 10 African delegations exhibited their agricultural produce and signed several agreements to boost export.
My company is making many products based on natural shea butter, which is extracted from Burkina Faso. Many Tunisian partners have shown interest in this product.
We've come together with an important delegation from Niger. Together, we're building up the Niamey-Tunis trade line and intensifying exchange in terms of products and technology transfer.
Tunisian authorities have welcomed the exhibition's content, the advanced technical tools and technologies, as well as the large presence of young people who were previously reluctant to carry out agricultural activities. During his visit to the International Show of Agriculture and Technology, Interim President Mohamed Nasser considered that agriculture can be the solution for unemployment, provided best use is made of all available potential in human resources and agricultural land, indicating that 50% of agricultural lands across Tunisia are not exploited. Adnan Shawashi, CGTN, Tunis.
And moving on now, Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince has warned that oil prices could rise to unimaginably high numbers if the world does not act to deter Iran. Now, Prince Mohammed bin Salman said a war between Saudi Arabia and Iran would ruin the global economy. This is after an attack on its oil facilities 2 weeks ago, which it blames on Tehran. Of course, Iran has since denied any involvement in the attacks. Saudi Arabia says 18 drones and 7 cruise missiles were fired on the country's 2 oil facilities in Abqaiq and Qurais on 14th September. Yemen's Iran-aligned Houthi rebels have said they were behind that attack.
If the world does not take a strong and firm action to deter Iran, we will see further escalations that will threaten world interests. Oil supplies will be disrupted and oil prices will jump to unimaginably high numbers that we haven't seen in our lifetimes.
Well, that's all for now on Africa Live Biz. But coming up on Global Business Africa, Kenya's central bank mops up $1 million as the deadline to surrender demonetized notes sets in. We'll be delving further into that top of the hour. For now, back to you, Beatrice.
Uche, thank you. And we still have more news for you here on the program. Stay tuned.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
I've learned how to code in a simple way.
Together with other young people, we're able to make this difference.
And now to our first installation of our Social Startup Africa series. We look at water harvesting. Do you know that anywhere air exists, water exists? There's an estimated 6 times more water in the atmosphere than in all rivers combined. Now, thanks to technological advances and innovative people like Beth Koigi in Kenya, we're able to turn air into water. Let's take a look.
I'm Beth Koigi. I made this glass of clean drinking water from air using this device. I was born in Kiambu, it's a county in Kenya, and that's where I was raised. Actually, where I was born, there was a lot of water, to be sincere. So we grew in that 1% place in Kenya. There was a lot of water, and we were oblivion to the water situation elsewhere. So let me first explain the name. So maji means water in Swahili, and the K stands for kuvuna. So basically the name means water harvesting. So kuvuna is harvesting in Swahili. It has been more of a journey than just waking up and like having an idea. I started with water filtration because my first encounter with water issues, it was with water contamination when I was doing my undergraduate. But then Kenya in 2016, 2017 had a huge drought. That was actually on another level in terms of the way I was affected by water, because I've never experienced that. So you'd go for 4 months without water in your tap, and that's where I felt like maybe I should be looking at water stress as an issue as a whole. And that's why we started looking at other water resources apart from rivers, borehole, and now we settled on air. The reason why we decided this is the best place to test our technologies, because first, the children do not have like clean drinking water. Previously, they were drinking water from the rainfall, but they haven't had rainfall for a long while. And also the tap water is not drinkable because it's not purified and comes from a river that has high levels of contamination from like the industrial areas around here. And then the other thing is quite spacious. So this technology requires a lot of air coming in and out. So it's ideal. So right now we are using 2 methods. One is the condensation, and the other one is using desiccants. So This machine can get 50 liters of water from the atmosphere. Basically, it uses condensation model. So we have air being pulled in from this side. So there is an internal fan. And then that same air, it's actually called wet air. And then from the other side, it's from behind here, it's expelled as hot, dry air. And this is because it has undergone the condensation coil, so most of the water vapor has already been condensed. And then that water is actually now passed through these filters. So we have different kind of filters, reverse osmosis, there's activated carbon filters, there's the sedimentation filter. So there are different kind of filters to remove different things. And then once the water is passed through these filters, it's stored in the tank. Hiyo ni mingi. Yeah. Basically, part of the reason why we bought the machine here is also to understand how it works and how, like, the energy consumption, how do people find the taste. So for me, it was refreshing to see the children drinking from it and liking it. So running this machine is quite expensive in terms of energy. A normal person living in a rural place will not afford to pay for that electricity. So that is a big hindrance even for us, making a business case to taking this technology actually where it's needed. And that's why we are adapting or looking for ways to adapt the solar panels and the solar system to run this device. That means there's a lot of sun here, so it is the best or the ideal source of energy, and actually it will be cheaper in the long run for everyone. I think I never expected people to be this supportive. So, and I think we are getting over the idea that people can try to help you achieve your vision without needing something back from you. So many times we are left wondering, what is this person gaining by doing this for us? So for me personally, I have seen that actually people want to see solutions working and they want to see a certain idea successful, because eventually it will change the world.
Let's now take a look at your sports news. Here's what's ahead. Kenya to try and break the 14-year gold drought in the men's 5,000 meters race.